Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome to the first episode of 2026 of Search with Candour. I am one of your hosts this week, Jack Chambers-Ward, joined by Mark Williams-Cook.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Feels weird that we're recording this in December, but it's coming out in January.
We're faking it. Happy New Year.
Yay! We're time traveling, everybody. This is even before Christmas.
But this is going to be scheduled, right?
Yeah.
I hope there's not some kind of disaster betwing now and then. That would look really weird.
Yeah, that
the
would.
nuclear ash falls down and we're like, Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year,
Let's talk
yay.
some SEO. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Exactly. We're going to talk about basically the biggest news stories of 2025 that happened in SEO. Talk about some of the predictions, the two of us and our guests that we had at the end of 2024. That's Arnaut, Yama, and Begum we had in the studio. And what we predicted for 2025. Did it come true? All that kind of stuff. And we'll be making some predictions for 2026 as well, which we'll obviously then recap in a year's time and be like, oh no, which is often what happens. And I think it's going to be a fun little roundup of, stuff we've covered in core updates, because obviously we cover the news every single week. And it's been a really interesting year for SEO. I feel like there's a lot of shifts going on. A lot of people, much like yourself, have been around in the game a long time and then been saying,
easy now.
This feels like, well, it's a compliment. Like there's a real kind of shift happening. It feels like an exciting time in SEO, and 2025 feels like it's been a big year for changes, both positive and potentially negative as well. So should we kick things off with the predictions that we made, that Yama, Arnaut, Begum joined us and made? One of them, I think, is a very interesting one and kind of ties into a lot of what we talked about this year. Arnaut said, a decrease in organic click-through rates due to more zero-click searches.
You were right.
Ba-bam.
So very right.
Indeed. So much so I did an entire Brighton SEO talk focused around zero-click searches. And I think this has definitely been one of the big conversations of 2025, right? The shift in kind of engagement and click-through rate and things like that. More people doing the informational research stages on the SERPs of LLMs and AI search and stuff like that. Do you think this is something we're going to continue to see? Is this an early prediction for 2026 as well, or are we kind of plateauing? How are you feeling about the kind of organic click-through rate as it stands now?
So I have two minds about this. One, I think in general there'll be more summarization done by AI systems because it's less effort to do so. Yeah. And that doesn't actually bother me at all because the point of marketing is basically to influence people.
Yeah.
So it essentially just means that influence is happening in a different place as opposed to on your own website, which is a little bit harder to control.
Yeah.
Is what's frustrating. But to throw you a curveball, something we uncovered 2 weeks ago. So we occasionally do a study of the people also ask answers. And one of the things we've been reporting for the last 6-7 months is the percentage of people also ask answers that are AI overviews that are generated by Google. And since July, we've got data going further back, but there was a very clear trend from July, which was it was 18% of those answers. Then in August, it was 27%. Then in September, it was 38%. And then in October, when we reported on it, it was 41%. Jeez. So approaching half of the questions were being automatically answered by Google through AI overviews. Yeah. However, the latest data that we reported a few weeks ago from November was, and this is over 24 million PAAs, English PAAs, so it's a very good data set.
Yeah.
This had actually dropped by about 25%.
Okay.
So it had gone down to 20 or 29%, so around 30%. So almost half to basically 1 in 3. So I don't know whether that was a blip, maybe because of if like Black Friday maybe changed things, or SERPs changed in general. But it might be a signal that there's some balance coming in, that Google was throwing the kitchen sink at the kind of AI overviews and seeing what stuck, and maybe getting some feedback from users through, click signals, whatever, that for these questions it didn't work very well. So it's now kind of balancing out. So it may be in some cases, at least from a Google point of view, we've reached that point where they're kind of like, oh, this is kind of the right amount, if you like, of AIOs. So I'm split between that. I think we'll get more LLM use, but directly from Google AIO views in relation to click-through rate, I think we may be over the bump.
That's interesting. Funny enough, I got I don't know if you've ever done the like Google Opinion like rewards little survey app that they have, where you can say like, oh, I went to this shop and I paid this thing, or you basically give them like extra data and they give you Google Play Store credit and stuff like that. You can some of it's about like what games have you been playing, or like what apps you've been using on your phone, and occasionally they will send you some search stuff. Which one of these SERPs is more useful? Which one of these things do you find more informative answers? If you search for, I know you search for this thing because I have access to your search data. I'm Google. Which one would have been more helpful at the time and stuff like that? And I very much quickly noticed it was like one is heavily AI overviews and the other one is fewer, or like at least a smaller, before pressing expand, read more, that kind of stuff. And it's interesting. I think Google are using, like you said, obviously literally click data and seeing click-through rates and engagement rates for different SERP features. That's always been the way they've tweaked and adjusted, right? But literally getting feedback from random users, for want of a better phrase. Like I wasn't selected because I'm an SEO person. It's just
have you done these surveys?
Yeah.
Do you answer them honestly?
Yeah.
Can I just ask why? Because you get the gift card, whatever, at the end, right? You could just whiz through it, be like, yeah. But you do answer honestly.
Like I'm not typing out paragraphs or anything. But I am answering because
that's interesting.
Especially if it's going to influence SERP stuff. I'm like, well, that's pretty relevant to what we do as a business. Like that kind of seems kind of important. Enough people do actually answer it properly and say, I hate AI overviews or whatever. Then maybe, I don't know if Google are like influenced by that many people, but I think if enough people start kicking up a fuss, we have shown that Google has reacted to that before. Credit to much of like the search relations team and stuff like that, where they have to take a lot of that abuse and feedback, as we talked about, to people like John and Martin and Gary. Like they get the brunt of it a lot, and I think they're also taking a lot of this anonymous user data and feeding it back and trying to work out that as well. So
I did get told the only way really to influence the Search Console team was to actually use the feedback thing in Search Console, because if the search relations team go back and are like, people want this, they're kind of like, well, it's not on the feedback. The data says people don't care about that. So they were really like, if you want the thing, like,
go through the official channel.
Organize, unionize, get it through Search Console feedback.
Exactly. Next prediction. This was one from Begum talking about a rise in video and visual search elements. I think we have definitely seen this. Again, something I talked about in my Brighton talk, and something that has been covered in a few other talks I saw at Brighton as well. Even things like Google Discover now introducing things like more YouTube videos and vertical video stuff. Obviously, over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of TikTok and short form content rank, and also long form content in terms of YouTube and things like that ranking really, really well. Visual search, I think, is a really interesting thing. We've seen very recent updates to things like live search with the integration of new Gemini models, and how much, something that Miriam Jessier has talked about so much, the multimodal stuff of being able to read content and being able to understand product packaging and all this kind of stuff. More and more people are using Search Live, Lens, all that kind of stuff. I think that's pretty spot on, to be honest.
I mean, anecdotally, I use Lens quite a lot now.
Really?
Yeah. So especially like in conversations, like the other day, someone was showing me like where they were, and I was like, oh, it's the building they were in. And I was like, it looks really interesting. And then I just whacked that straight into Google Lens, and it was like, oh, it's this museum. And then it told me about all the exhibits there. I've used it all sorts to identify like dog breeds.
I do it for car stuff a lot. I'm like, there's a blue thing on my dashboard. What is that? What is happening?
Yeah, and I've used
rather than Googling like Ford Fiesta manual, I'll be like, what does Google think?
I've done it with the washing up machine lights the other day.
Yes.
One of the light combinations. Yeah, and I was just like, what's this?
So I stayed in an Airbnb earlier this year, and I used the washing machine, but the like different settings had like rubbed off with use. So it said like eco something, auto, cotton, etc., etc. I'm like, what should they say? And so I was like, Lens, this is this model from this brand. what should the
I'm
settings
just
say?
amazed
Like,
you use more than one setting. I'll be like, yeah, eco that all the way.
but like, I made up eco. I think eco was missing.
Okay.
Like, it was like, because all the most
Fine.
used ones were worn off.
Got
So I
it.
was like,
Got it.
I don't want like delicates or like sports or anything like that. I just need my normal t-shirts washed. Like, what is this? Which one is eco? How do I know? Kind of thing. And yeah, it worked. It's like, it should say these things. Like, oh, cool. Yeah, like it's a clever little way of interacting with the world. And I think a lot of us are obviously dealing with so much more stuff in our everyday lives, whether that's, you know, like you said, dog breed stuff or simple little things
It's
like
just
that.
fast
Yeah,
as well. It's just like sometimes just quicker to be a photo and be like, what is, you know,
what is this?
The video thing's interesting. So from a search point of view, I do see more videos. I was on a client call yesterday and they were saying, oh yeah, we've noticed for our results, we get a lot of YouTube and a lot of TikTok stuff come up, and we have a chat about that.
We were talking about it in an internal meeting the other day about client conversations, weren't we? Yeah.
I think we're not quite there on the searching through videos yet in the same way as we are images, because obviously we get things like the automated transcripts.
Yep.
You know, like search accessible, but videos are basically just loads of still images, right, stitched together. And I do think that it's just a processing delay or processing hurdle. When we've got enough processing bandwidth to do that, to easily search clips of video, I mean, I think that's going to be super interesting, because not only will it be, here's a picture of a thing, okay, here's some match pictures, it'll be, oh, that person's in these 16 videos, and then it can pull out, and they said this. You know, imagine being able to do that. Imagine being able to say, okay, here's a picture of me or video of me. What conferences are online, and give me some quotes about PAAs that I've said in all those videos, and having an AI agent to be able to go in and do that. I think that's quite reasonable to do. I think that would be really interesting, because that also will become food for LLMs, because LLMs obviously are, at the moment, just kind of text based, right?
Yeah.
It seems to me a very logical conclusion that they will start ingesting multimodal stuff. I mean, they have in a way, because that's how we have the image generation and Soras and video generation as well. But meshing them all together, I think, is inevitable.
Definitely. I think that's really a shifting conversation we're seeing a lot of. And the prediction from Yammer, I think, is also tying into this very nicely. The return of quote-unquote real marketing, focusing on product and community rather than just algorithms. I think this is a conversation that's happening a lot of. I've not seen that much evidence of people focusing on community stuff specifically. Like, I've not seen any specific case studies. I know, shout out to Erin Simmons, who is the managing director at WTS. They did a great talk at Brighton SEO. It's the same time as my talk, so I didn't see it, but I've seen the recording and it's great. And Erin talked about the power of community, right? And obviously that did tie into my talk as well. I think this is a big conversation that's happening, is having things, and we were talking about this earlier, and we went for lunch earlier, we were talking about like Discords and Slack communities and stuff like that, how brilliant they can be to get information, to have those conversations, rather than just the spray and pray kind of Twitter approach or LinkedIn or, you know, that kind of thing. I think we have seen the impact of communities will continue to grow, but I've not seen any evidence of like people using that specifically for clients or anything like that. Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to politely disagree.
Okay.
I would give out of those 3 tips, I think Yammer deserves the crown for that one, because, I mean, there's 2 parts to it. I think she's bang on in terms of the return of like real marketing, because the way I think that LLMs are adding a layer on top of traditional search is having a wider scope of the web. So it's not just the words on your webpage, the links to your webpage. It is the overall sentiment about what people say about your product. It is how you appear across lots of different websites. And you can't directly control all of those things. You have to focus on product to make it happen. And I think that was a little bit of a pipe dream at the end of last year. So I think it was a good like gamble. Like I love obviously the others as well. I think maybe like click-through rate decline, again, bang on, maybe slightly easier to see coming.
That's it, right? Yeah,
The
yeah.
community thing, I think it's interesting you say that, because I mean, I've seen lots of people do it badly. Lots of people
same.
are trying to get into communities when they're like,
exactly.
let's storm Reddit.
Yeah, the
Kick
classic
the gates
thing
down.
of like a brand shows up and it's like, hey, how do you do, fellow kids? I'm a Redditor. Like, no, you're not.
But I have heard a lot more conversations about people talking about getting like community team people involved in SEO, and just understanding that that is now part of the mix. And there was a post the other day that was claiming, to have a successful AEO answer, engine optimization strategy, you need to have good brand, and you need to have good PR, and you need to have good community management. And I was kind of like, well, yeah, it's basically SEO now. And it always has been, but I think it is more important than ever. I think it's people are still figuring out how to do it.
I think that's where I'm kind of coming from. Yeah.
How to connect the reporting and we did this in this community and it had this impact.
Yeah, I think that is spot on. That's kind of where I'm coming from. I think Yammer is absolutely spot on, and this is a recurring theme that's come up on the show throughout the year as well, is the amount of times we've kind of said like, yeah, that's marketing. That's marketing 101. This is proper marketing. This is what people were doing back in the 1800s, like having conversations about stuff like brand management. Yeah, exactly. The equivalent of Reddit, the like town notice board. Yeah, exactly. There's a real kind of the return of real marketing, I think, is a really good way of framing that. And I think the product side of things, exactly as you were saying there, is really interesting. I know you talked a lot about the way LLMs understand particular brands and understand products and stuff, and the way you can influence that through reviews and all that kind of stuff. Like, how are you being discussed on TripAdvisor or, I don't know, Trustpilot or the Glassdoor if you're a brand, all that kind of stuff. Like, is Candour nice to work for? And then I can't remember what it was specifically. There was the Candour question, and it ended up being the recruitment agency called Candour. That was it. Yeah, the Candour Talent Recruitment Agency, not us, the digital agency. I was like, yeah, that's an interesting thing of that brand reputation management that has been a thing in PR for decades, hundreds of years, ever since brands have existed, basically. And I think you're right. The reason I'm kind of hesitant is like, we are moving in that direction. I think Yammer is absolutely spot on that this is something we should be doing as an industry. But the tracking side of it, the actual, like I said, I've not seen any specific case studies or like actionable things. I think a lot of us are trying to do that. And funnily enough, I keep coming back to Brighton SEO, but Peter Savaris, who did the talk after me, talking about log files and stuff, the example I did, his little magic trick that he brought me on stage to do was like tracking things from WhatsApp groups and stuff like that. You can see through your server log files, you can see where people are coming from, even if it's things like Slack and WhatsApp and Discord that are in theory closed off little pockets of the internet you can't search, right? WhatsApp chats aren't indexed and all that kind of stuff, so you're never going to find that. But you can find out how many people are visiting us through Slack groups, how many people are coming to my website from people discussing us on a WhatsApp group or whatever. I think that's a really interesting way. If you can tie that into reporting, and if you're actively pursuing, engaging particular platforms, particular communities, doing something like a server log tracker of, visits from Slack have gone up by a percentage, that could be a really interesting way of doing it. Unfortunately, it's not as nuanced. Like, you don't necessarily get a lot of engagement data or anything like that. But I think that's definitely something we're moving towards. We've even seen Search Console introducing the social channels filter now as well. So we're getting kind of peeks into some of that data. And I think that's definitely where we need to go as an industry. And obviously companies like Google need to be aware of that this is a big part of it. So yeah, I think it's spot on, but I think I'm saying we're not there yet as an industry yet in terms of tracking and making it part of our...
I don't know if we'll ever get there as we want in tracking.
Yeah.
Especially because of the direction privacy laws are moving in.
Of course.
But I think it matters less from, if we were doing SEO 10 years ago, we would be more focused on, we're doing this thing for SEO because we know it impacts rankings. Now, if it's like, okay, say we're doing product-led SEO, i.e. we are improving our product.
Yeah.
It's kind of like there's no downside. So it's like, okay, well, did we have an impact in search? I'm not sure. It's like, well, all that work, we only made our product better and our customers happier. So it's kind of like, that's something I talk to clients about now. It's basically like, we're helping you do the next best thing for your business, just in a search friendly way. The worst possible outcome we could have is search engines vanish overnight, but then we still have added value, equity, made customers happier, which is, that's never going to be a bad thing. Right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Whereas, previously, if you're like, oh, we bought 200 links, it's like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, we got banned.
And
we added no business value, and all that investment's gone.
An episode towards the end of last year that I did with Amanda King, there's a great quote, and I think we've had a similar conversation before as well, of like, would you still do that if Google didn't exist?
Such a good question.
Would you still buy those links or build those, even if you're doing digital PR or whatever? Like, the way you're targeting and the way you're planning your strategy, would you still do that if it wasn't just for Google, just for rankings and all that kind of stuff? And I think that is a question a lot of us should be thinking about.
100%.
Because of the way things are shifting.
I think it's literally one of the most important questions to make sure you're building equity.
Yeah, and long-term value, like you said. Let's talk about some news, shall we? The biggest news stories of 2025, I think the big one, obviously, AI mode.
It's like the big one, but also not the big one for me. Because it was like, they came late to the party, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, AI mode. And then, they started reporting the figures, didn't they, in the States when it was launched, of like 1.5% of people are dabbling in it.
Yeah.
And then a few months later, they were like, it's really popular. And we didn't really get much follow-up.
That's every interview with sort of our pitch out at this point. It's just like, people love it. People love AI. Users tell us that, like, everybody uses it. It's like, it happens automatically.
It's got really beggy now, though, hasn't it? Like, not just Google. So I'm not slating Google in particular, but like every product that has AI now, there's just that stupid
pop-up
button with the stars, the little sparkle on, being like,
are you sure you don't want to do an AI version of this? From Amazon to like customer support things, it's always just like,
on the most like ridiculous things as well. It's like, do you want to AI this, please? We need to pump the stats.
What was I using the other day? It's just like, you can AI this image. I'm like, I don't. I'm uploading a thing to. I was like uploading it to like Blue Sky or whatever it was. Like, are you sure you don't want to like completely redo your image? I'm like, no, I took a photo. Go away. Leave me to do my photography.
I honestly feel a lot of those kind of ways to get people to use the AI are primarily for kind of investors to be like, look how much people are using it. They are loving it.
Thing,
like,
right? Yeah.
20% of our users use the new AI feature. It's like, well,
because they accidentally clicked on it.
It's a huge button. Do you not want to not use AI for this? Not next time? No?
Exactly. So to give a quick time frame, and this is one of my predictions throughout the year and the end of last year as well. March 2025 was the initial testing in the US of AI mode. Then in May, Google I.O., we did a whole episode about that. If you want to go and check that out. That was the announced full rollout and stuff like that. Then in June, we got expansion to India, and then not just to signed in people, but all US users. And then faster than most of us predicted, July was when it came to us here in the UK. Usually we had sort of like a 3 to 6, sometimes 9-month delay for it's in lab testing, it's in search labs in the US. When's it going to come to the UK? And in 3 months, 2.5 months really, it was already here. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. Because as we've talked about many times on the show, the US they get to play with all the fun toys and experiment with all the weird stuff that Google is trying. And we're just kind of stuck here like...
How much do you use AI mode?
Almost never. Like, barely at all.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't know. I just don't really...
Are you using many LLM?
No, I'm not. I'm not much of an LLM user in general. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who's a couple of years younger. So they're about to turn 30. And they're like, oh yeah, I just use ChatGPT and Claude like for everything basically. I'm like, that is mad. I'm so old man at this point.
Well, I use Perplexity for a lot of things now. For a lot of tasks as well. But I can't say, and it's not because I'm purposely not using it. I just haven't felt the need to use AI mode, I guess, because when I'm doing the Google search that I need to, and again, I realize I'm not like a typical Google user, but I generally get what I want, or at least if I don't think AI mode is going to help me achieve that. So I just haven't really, used it that much outside of client stuff and trying to just figure out what's going on and how is it working, and
a lot of it I've used for create a table of this thing and that kind of thing. Like, while you often use Gemini or Perplexity for is that kind of thing of I can't work out how many rows or like what particular formatting I'd need for this. I need to do this thing. So, for example, we were looking for venues for Search Norwich XL. I was like, find me venues with this capacity in Norwich.
You trusted
this
to
thing.
do that.
No, I didn't, obviously, but I wanted to see what. Again,
Yeah.
most of the things I do on LLMs are like, this is never going to be the final thing that I use or report to you or discuss with the client. But what's it going to do? I just want to poke and prod and kind of experiment. I never really use it as like an integral part of my workflow. It's more like a, I wonder what the LLM's going to say. It was more of an experimental thing for me, I feel. Maybe that says a lot more about me as a person than I like to admit. Then in August, it expanded out to many, many other countries. And then October, basically taking over the world. It was like, at that point, 50, 60 plus countries around the world. Then expanding to 70 plus countries, including Australia, all around the world. AI mode feels like like you said, a thing Google is kind of keen to push in a lot of ways. And there's been a couple of different discussions. My prediction that I think we've covered a couple of times over this year on the show was that by the end of 2026, AI mode will be the primary search feature, search function for users. If you just type a thing into Google, it will default to AI mode. An interesting conversation I think you brought up, or an idea when we did the podcast previously, was Google trying to filter searches based on potential intent of like, would traditional SERPs serve you better, or would AI mode serve you better? And an automatic filtering system of some kind that kind of guides you down the path of each one. I'm almost leaning more towards that now, but that does feel like a kind of...
It's kind of like what they have now, though,
kind
with
of a little
maps
bit,
and images, because they're kind of like, oh, you want to see an image, you want to see a map, you want to see a video.
The video thing is a great example.
Yeah, so I feel like it's more like you want an AI mode-y type answer here rather than a list of web pages.
Exactly.
Maybe. I still think they have monetization struggles with using AI mode, not just in... I know they radically reduced the cost recently of generating the answers, but still, they're not just going to plug Google Ads in as it runs as profitably now into AI mode. So I think they're always going to be careful around that.
Something we've already talked about, the drop in organic click-through rate. There's a great study I'll put in the show notes from SEO Interactive talking about a pretty significant drop in click-through rate. This was done in September of 2025, talking about paid and organic click-through rates and the trend of that over the last year. So October 24 to September 25 and how that shifted. And it's a really interesting how AI overviews affect click-through rate. And it would be interesting for, again, I don't know how we could possibly do this study, but if Google kind of do more of the filtering you in a particular direction. A lot of the studies have been when an AI overview is present. But I'd be interested to see, like, a year ago, you would have got a traditional SERP. Now you go to AI mode. How has that, your comparative click-through rate? Like, you previously ranked number one if it was still serving you a traditional SERP. Now you might be mentioned in AI mode if you're lucky, kind of thing. I'd be intrigued. I don't know how you would track that kind of data and stuff. I know, speaking to some of the guys over at Systrix, speaking to some of the guys over at Ahrefs as well, they're looking into that kind of thing. So like SERP snapshot comparisons and stuff like that. I know the team at Systrix have that feature already, and it's a really interesting thing, but there's not really a number you put behind that. Like, it's literally a, here's what it looked like, here's what it looks like now kind of thing. And something we talked about before, like tracking the real estate of your brand on the SERP being a thing, right? Like,
can we talk about how sneaky the new sponsored ads are? They actually caught me out the other week when they first launched, because they're like the concertinery type thing. Yeah, and it obviously, when it changes, your little automated defense mechanisms, if I don't want to click on an ad, are circumnavigated. And the first couple of searches, I was like, shit, I've clicked on an ad, and I didn't even realize. And the click-through rates I was seeing for the ads were significantly higher than organic. And it really brought me back to when I started in SEO. We can make the joke that it was ages ago again. But, I mean, the organic click-through rates were like 10 times that of the ads. It was like obvious ads. And, I remember used to being able to pitch people, be like, yeah, we can do you Google AdWords and we can do SEO. But if you're number one in ads, you're number one in organic, you'll get 5-10 times the traffic if you're number one in organic. And now it's like completely
Yep.
the other way around. And they're training people, obviously, because what you do regularly will become the default behavior. So if people are not clicking and they're finding answers, that's going to become the expectation as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The study from SEO here kind of wrap this up. The hypothesis that AI views will significantly affect click-through rates for both organic and paid search is pretty much confirmed across their study. When you are cited in an AIO, you get 35% more organic clicks and 91% more paid clicks compared to when you're not mentioned at all. And queries when an AIO is present but you're not cited, organic CTR drops by over 65% and paid click-through rate drops by over 78%. When you are cited, those numbers drop from 65 to 49 and 78 to 54. So it makes a pretty significant difference when you are still cited, but you are in the paid results as well, or in the organic results as well. That still makes a huge difference. And then queries where no AI overview appears at all, organic click-through rate and paid click-through rate are still down a little bit as well, 46% and 20% down overall.
I mean, it's just comforting to know that Sundar says people love it all.
It's really reassuring, isn't it? Yeah. But don't worry, everyone's having a great time. Nobody's clicking on your website, but everything's fine.
Do you want to talk about predictions for 2026?
Let's get into some predictions, shall we?
Do you have any you want to talk about?
I think so. Yeah, there's one I've been stewing over for a little while and thinking about in terms of the way Google is handling a lot of their, I guess, like communication around paid stuff. I was listening to Marketing O'Clock the other day, and they were talking about, shifts in PMAX and all the automation that's happening in paid at the moment. And I think a lot of us in SEO are perhaps kind of not aware of that kind of stuff, right? I know we talk about this as a business in terms of we had PPC clients for years and we kind of stopped that because so much of it is automated and the Google performance score is so based on
it was the account reps hated them.
Ticking there, and the account reps are nutters.
They were problematic.
Just calling us
they were problematic.
At like 4:59 on a Friday afternoon, be like, I need to speak to this person.
It was more the directly calling clients because we wouldn't enable all of the automated suggestions.
Yes. Yeah. And one of the suggestions is double your budget.
Have you tried spending more money? Have you tried adding more broad keywords?
Exactly.
Have you tried putting 3 more credit cards in? Have you tried taking a loan and giving us that money?
So yeah, I think automation is a big conversation, and I think I think we'll see a kind of shift back towards the kind of data that we're getting is where I'm getting at. In terms of, obviously I mentioned like social channel stuff in Search Console, and there has been a big discussion about the dialing back of, you mentioned like privacy policies and stuff like that, cookie consent and all that kind of thing. Potential of the European Commission being like, maybe we went a bit too mad with GDPR, we need to dial it back a bit. Nobody can see anything. And for me, I think a lot of the automation that people are talking about, integrating LLMs into your workflow and all that kind of stuff, I kind of want to see what companies like Bing, like Google, like OpenAI do for, I guess, their data side of things. Like, what kind of data are we going to get from OpenAI in terms of search data? This time last year, because I listened back to the predictions episode, we talked about TikTok search insights, right? Even coming round to social media channels and stuff like that. Exactly, right? Do you remember that was a search engine like 3 years ago?
Nobody talks about that now, being a search engine.
Yeah, I don't really use TikTok. I used TikTok pretty regularly for a while, and then I just kind of went cold turkey and just haven't touched it since. But yeah, I think the way Google is reporting a lot of that data, I think, is going to shift. I think the way, obviously, we're talking about clicks and impressions being the thing we talk about all the time from Search Console, whether we will get some sort of data around citations or...
I think it'll come with ads. Because I think they'll want to sell ads, and I think they'll need the data.
That's kind of where I was going. Because I think the thing we talk about so much, and something Anno Adegbola brought up on the show, was like, they don't care about the organic side of things. Paid is what drives Google's business, and business is what drives their changes. So my prediction will be, or my recommendation, I guess, and a bit of a prediction would be like, pay attention to what is happening on the paid side of things, because it often ripples and echoes through to this organic side of things. And exactly as you were saying there, I think once we start to see stuff like citation click-through rate or other elements that you might see, oh, an AI mode ad, you're getting clicks for that, so you have that data somewhere. I think we will be getting that more and more as we go
And we
forward.
saw there
in
was
2026.
the OpenAI kind of leak, wasn't there, on what data they're tracking on clicks?
Oh,
I don't know
yeah,
if you saw
yeah,
that,
yeah.
which talked about like citation frequency, citation click-through rate. So it's obviously floating around there in the system, and they're playing with it. I think people underestimate how hard it is as well to build a contextual automated ad platform. You know, Google's been doing it for 2 decades. And you know, they've had a lot of slip ups on the way. So
definitely. How about you? Prediction from you for 2026?
So I've got a couple. I think there's this low key war at the minute with Google trying to stop scrapers. So we had a few things happen. The
num 100 thing,
having
to
num 100s, the forcing JavaScript, and they even went a step further actually with the num 100 thing. So there was a workaround for that. Don't know if you saw that. I think it was with one of the low bandwidth modes of Google or something that you could still use num 100.
Right.
And then they shut that off as well. So it was obviously like, no, we want to stop people doing this. And actually, we'd also asked a few weeks ago, we had like our longest downtime ever of like 2.5 days because, again, Google massively changed the requirements to be able to scrape certain bits of data. So previously you could do requests and scrape data, and now it's like you need to accept this secure cookie, which is then bound to a specific IP address.
Right.
So it becomes a lot more challenging. So I think that's going to have an impact in terms of, and again, I've heard people talking about this with ChatGPT, starting to cache their own version of pages. I think we will see LLM systems' hands being forced in terms of, okay, well, we need to start cobbling together maybe some of our own index in a way. And I think that's going to present them with all kinds of challenges because the building the index part is arguably the easy part. The difficult bit is the getting rid of the 95%, which is spam. And we've seen that problem as well. I saw Lily Ray talking about this, how sites that have been pretty much banned in Google had penalties are just getting surfaced in like ChatGPT and Perplexity and stuff because they don't have that underlying kind of site spam scores and whatever. So I think that's going to be super interesting. We're going to start seeing LLMs trying to take their Google training wheels off. And I imagine that's going to have all kinds of issues in terms of hacks and spam and stuff that's going to work. And alongside this, my longer term prediction would be that some of the models, or at least part of the models, start moving in browser. So we get little
there's
mini,
a little bit already.
So we get little mini models that maybe will answer queries or do the searches.
Gemini
locally.
assistant in Chrome. You've got Comet and Perplexity, obviously.
Because this is interesting because it solves one of the big issues, which is the inference cost for the provider. So if you're doing it through a web page, apart from needing the internet connection and them having to cook their processor to give you the answer, you're doing that for them locally. I think it gives them it gets around a lot of privacy data, issues as well, because you've kind of got a little walled garden which you can start to build up information about the user and use that data quite richly, because again, it's not just sitting out there. And you get you can capture quite easily all the feedback data in the browser if they're using it, because we've seen OpenAI with Atlas and Perplexity with Comet. I think they're going to be super important, and that's what they're going to build their like agentic stuff on. Google obviously with Chrome is still kind of in the lead. But yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all for for cost reasons, for personalization reasons, for we want you, we know you like our model, so use our browser. That's going to be the reason I think why people switch browser if they start liking a particular model or agent. which people did, right? Because people got upset
Yep.
when GPT-4 went to 5.
Yeah,
And it was like, well, I was quite attached to GPT-4 and its quirks and
Yeah.
how it worked. So yeah, they're two things, and I think they will all impact SEO as well.
Yeah, I think the browser stuff is really interesting. Something I think a couple of people have mentioned on the show this year, or like throughout 2025, was like the clickstream data side of things. Like, yeah, they're getting access to so much more data that they can then use to train models, influence the results that they're providing, all this kind of stuff. And like you said, you're then escaping the need to, as we've talked about many times, buy all of the backlink data and get all this other stuff that they're outsourcing. If they can get literal user engagement stuff and data that they can then use to influence paid side of things and advertise and all that kind of stuff, that could be an absolute shift in their revenue models and stuff like that. The amount of times you talked about, will ChatGPT search introduce ads and all this kind of stuff? For me, I think that leads nicely into agentic search. Like the amount of times we've kind of touched on it, and there's been little experiments of like, it ordered a roast dinner from Tesco was the example we had a few months ago, and the relationship with like Ticketmaster and all that kind of stuff.
Do you think that's coming in 2026 then? Do you think we'll realize that?
Yes, I think we will. The general public, I don't think we'll get a full rollout, but I think with like selected partners, in the same way that ChatGPT has done their Shopify product integration stuff of like, yeah, there are certain Etsy and all that kind of stuff, but brands we are partnered with, you can now buy directly. I think Google will do a similar kind of thing, and I think that says a lot about how important brand is and stuff like that. I know it's been the buzzword for a while now, but the fact that selected partners are basically like, Google has appointed these 5 things to be like the pinnacles of agentic search. Like, you can only buy your ticket through Ticketmaster now. It's like, yeah,
I don't know.
okay.
Like, I think that's a really interesting and quite exciting one. I just for the spice.
Okay.
I'll bet against you on that for next year.
Deal.
I think we might have some of the AI bubble pop before then.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And we might get a little bit of
a spicy
pullback.
meatball to tackle. Yeah.
Yeah, we might get. I just feel we're going to get some kind of AI pullback a bit next year. I don't think the balloon could get much bigger.
Like you mentioned with the PAA data, right? Is this a kind of dialing back?
I don't think it's going anywhere. It will come back. You know, it's just like a hype cycle.
It's gone up and then kind of settle a little bit.
We'll work out what's useful. I just don't think in the next 12 months we're going to have these systems reliable enough to place orders.
I didn't say it was reliable, Mark.
I
never said it was working.
So maybe that would be the thing. They did it and it sucked.
Google will launch it a bit too early and it'll go crazy and it won't work.
I don't know, because it's just such a gamble, right? Because the thing at the moment about when the systems do suck and they hallucinate and stuff is like they're not in direct control of anything. Yeah. So they've got the get out of jail card of just having the asterisk being like, oh, it's AI generated.
Generative.
It might be wrong.
Yep.
Lol. You know, but if it's like, give us your credit card.
Yeah.
It might go wrong.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's kind of a different.
We're back to YMYL stuff, right?
Yeah, no, that's like
getting medical information wrong on AIOs and that kind of thing, and also spending my money. Like, if you give it a specific budget and it just accidentally ignores that budget, whoops.
Yeah. Like who's liable?
Exactly.
For stuff like this? Like, okay, so the bank charged me because I went overdrawn.
Yeah.
But then
I told the Gemini agent I wanted to spend £200 and it spent 500.
Yeah, and it had the asterisk and was like, well, lol.
That's really interesting. Yeah, maybe Google is scared of that because there's a whole legal liability mess to be digging through there potentially, and they've got enough legal troubles to be dealing with already, as we've talked about throughout the year as well.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess maybe there's a way they can do it in browser where at the last minute it's kind of like it's your responsibility.
Yeah, which is where it is at the moment from what we've seen.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't literally.
But it's not great. I don't know if you've used I've used Comet a few times now, and the first few times I used it on e-com sites, it went and found the things, and I was like, wow, this is going to be game changing. And then I used it a few more times, and then it would get stuck searching a site, or it would find close but the wrong product.
I had a search happen for 4 minutes, something like that. It was hunting around for stuff. I'm like, I could have found this by now. You're
But you
not,
could be
you're
doing
not-
something else. You need to watch
yeah,
it.
but like,
It's just like when you get the robot Hoover for the first
Yeah,
time.
exactly, yeah.
And then I spent half an hour watching it. I was like, this is cool. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. I could have finished the Hoovering now. Like, I shouldn't just be watching it.
Yeah.
I should be doing something else.
maybe that's my fault for just being like, "Ooh, Comet, that's
Yeah.
exciting."
It's like, go and cook dinner or something
Yeah,
while
exactly.
it's doing the thing.
Exactly. So yeah, that is some predictions for 2026, folks. Let us know what you think is going to happen in 2026. Put it in the YouTube comments, Spotify comments, and all that good stuff. Let us know on social media. I'll put links for everything we mentioned in the show notes. And yeah, I've already recorded a couple episodes for January coming up in 2026. So we're going to have a great month. We've just been talking about having more folks from the Candour team
Yes.
and talking about our
It's going to happen.
specialisms and all that kind of stuff. Some really interesting topics. I'm talking with some of the SEO team here, some of the account management teams, even some of our designers and developers as well. And we're going to have a really interesting couple of conversations. I think even potentially getting our SEO team and digital marketing teams discussing things with our developers as a podcast and have conversations there as well. Like things like how do you approach migration from a design and development point of view versus an SEO point of view, or how do you approach UX conversations with clients from those two perspectives? Because I think the big conversation we've been having throughout the year, and a thing that quite a few people have predicted is, and something we talked about in 2024, it was the thing of 2024 was SEO needs to not be in a silo. We need to work with all the things, paid, brand, blah, 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 blah. That's also true for UX and design and development and all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, expect more crossover conversations, cool guests. We were just talking about doing more panel episodes as well, like the one we did with Arnaut, Yammer and Begum, and my favorite episode of the year with Miriam, Jono, Chris and Dawn as well. We're going to do more of that kind of stuff. Topical discussions of interesting, potentially hot topics.
Interesting people.
And interesting people, exactly. Thank you, everybody, for joining us throughout 2025, and look forward to the rest of 2026.
2026.
Yay! Happy New Year.